Others, like Secretary Rubio, spoke about the need of, and I quote, renewal and restoration. So that shows you, the spectrum of views about where we are in either repairing, restoring, or actually accepting the fact that we probably may have to rebuild something practically from scratch. Alongside voices of reassurance, we also heard profound expressions of doubt. Doubts about whether we, in what we used to call the West, whether we still share the same values, whether we still play by the same rules, whether we are, in fact, still on the same team. Our friends from Denmark and Greenland, in particular, reminded us that if you cross certain lines, that will simply not be ignored. At the beginning of the conference, I referred to our Munich Security Report, which says, as you all know, is that our international system is under destruction. Not everybody was happy with that, and I have to say that I was really very interested in seeing how many different views have been voiced over the last several days about this. Some actually have argued that not only has the international system been under attack, but that it's actually already gone, that it's over. Chancellor Merz himself said, actually, your under destruction diagnosis is not strong enough. Others, like Secretary Rubio, spoke about the need of, and I quote, renewal and restoration. So that shows you, the spectrum of views about where we are in either repairing, restoring, or actually accepting the fact that we probably may have to rebuild something practically from scratch. Alongside voices of reassurance, we also heard profound expressions of doubt. Doubts about whether we, in what we used to call the West, whether we still share the same values, whether we still play by the same rules, whether we are, in fact, still on the same team. Our friends from Denmark and Greenland, in particular, reminded us that if you cross certain lines, that will simply not be ignored and needs to be taken into account. We also saw, and I think that is, as far as I can see, good, we also saw a much greater spirit of European resolve to hold these lines, to defend what we believe are essentially European values. Europeans are stepping up on defense, no doubt about it. My own country does. We are collectively willing to carry a larger share, not only of the defense burden, but of our collective responsibility to try to preserve peace, prevent conflict, etc. What we need now, I think, is more than just another series of speeches. I think what we need now is a plan, is action, is an answer to what exactly are we Europeans prepared to do, and if so, by when and how. How do we bring, is a question for my European friends, EU friends, how do we bring the mutual assistance clause, which is in the European Union Treaty, to life? What exactly is our plan to ramp up defense production and to create a more cohesive and globally competitive European defense market? Question mark. This brings me to Ukraine. Clearly, as we were convening here in Munich, our Ukrainian neighbors were continuing to suffer from relentless Russian attacks. I think we were right in selecting as the awardees of this year's Kleist Award the brave people of Ukraine. And we had, for those of you who were not able to be there last night, we had a really appropriate and serious and worthy celebration of this award ceremony with President Zelensky. And I want to express once again my admiration for Prime Minister Tusk of Poland, who came specifically for the purpose of delivering his laudatory remarks all the way from Poland just for a few hours to participate in this event last night. There is more, I think, we can do as transatlantic partners to put pressure on Russia, which I think we've come to agree is sorely needed. Providing Ukraine with the weapon they need, including certainly a lot more air defense, coordinate tougher sanctions on Russia, US sanctions, but there is also, the possibility of more and more comprehensive European sanctions, no doubt about it. And also tackling the shadow fleet. There are still a number of options that we have not fully adopted to increase the cost for Russia's continuing war. Yes, as Secretary Rubio said, our destinies are intertwined. That's good if we accept that. And I want to add that the question of how this war is going to end is actually an existential question for Europe. It will determine, in more ways than one, the future of this continent. And I very much hope that this is not only understood by all of us here in Europe, but also by our American friends in Washington. And I hope very much that we as allies and partners are united and determined to act together to make sure Ukraine can and will prevail. So that's just a small part of our agenda. But I think that when I think about the priorities, it is probably the single most important one because it's so urgent. There are other, maybe more long-term issues that are not less important, but maybe slightly less directly urgent.